Senator Cantwell.
Again, thank you, Chair Murkowski and Ranking Member Manchin, and again, my congratulations to moving forward successfully on a tranche of energy and water provisions in this legislation. The fact that these bills were voted mostly by voice vote, I think, is a testament to your continued bipartisan consensus that is necessary to making investments in clean energy and storage and energy efficiency. And I would like to address a couple of very important changing water needs in the West. I'd like to briefly talk about several bills that are included today. First, the grid modernization, item number 17, authorizes new demonstrations to modernize the grid with storage, microgrids, distribution-level investment in technologies like electric vehicle chargers and advanced distributed generation. In addition, the bill requires the Energy Department to provide a series of off-the-shelf tools to local and state grid regulators to accelerate the adoption of new technology and grid controls. While I believe this bill covers some of the important ground, I think we can do even more, and I know that our committee will continue to work on smarter grid and grid resiliency for the future. I can just see it growing within my state, and there are many businesses now that are key players in this particular space, and it's a great economic opportunity for our nation. I also want to mention Agenda Item 18, the Energy Cybersecurity Act of 2019, which takes some critical steps on securing our electric grid. As we've talked about in this committee many times, the grid is subject to over 1 million cyber attacks every day. In fact, earlier this year, a scary threshold was crossed when an unnamed Western utility became the first to report a malicious cyber event that disrupted grid operations. This legislation creates several programs to identify, enhance, and test chain vulnerabilities and response capabilities between DOE and other agencies like our national labs and private industry. And the bill will work to secure energy networks, bolster industry participation, address cyber workforce, and expand DOE's cooperation with the intelligence community, something that we hear from our colleagues quite often in other committees. They are bringing generals and military leaders before the Armed Services Committee or the Intelligence Committee demanding what are they going to do about cybersecurity, when in reality so much of the focus is at DOE and on the grid. So our committee has a very important role to play in national security, and thank you for including that legislation. Also, Agenda Item 19, the energy workforce, is something we heard a lot in the QER report, our nation's energy needs for the future. And addressing the workforce issue, particularly for new buildings and clean energy systems, is very important. So we hope that developing an energy workforce in both traditional and clean energy sectors will help move our country forward on these developments and a new competitive workforce grant program. The idea is providing funding for states and local governments and industries and colleges who can boost job training at the community college and register apprentice programs to help create more of a workforce in these needed sectors. And finally, I'd like to mention the pumped storage hydro bill that is known as Bank Lakes in the state of Washington. As the committee heard at our hearing in June, currently pumped storage hydro accounts for about 95% of all utility-scale energy storage in the United States. And these facilities play a critical role in meeting peak demands. The bill will cover a unique permitting hurdle and allow promising Bank Lakes hydroelectric pump storage to move forward. This project will utilize 2 existing reservoirs near Grand Coulee Dam to provide the Pacific Northwest grid with a new source of carbon-free capacity and critical ancillary services. At this proposed size of 500 megawatts, this project could play a huge role in helping to integrate our state's growing supply of wind and solar. So I, again, appreciate you and Ranking Member Manchin for moving all of this legislation forward. I hope that we can get the time in the Senate that this legislation deserves. Again, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Cantwell.